Good morning. This is Axel Merk, President Chief Investment Officer of Merck Investments. Today, I'll just zoom in on one particular topic, notably the EU summit that's been going on since Friday about the package deal for especially the weaker Eurozone countries, a combination of grants and loans that may be given in the order of 750 billion euros. Um, as a as a support during the COVID times. And the EU presidency is with Germany for the 6 months right now. That rotates every 6 months. Merkel and Macron appear to be set on providing this aid, and if it were any country, I suppose such aid would presumably be given in some form or fashion. We've seen astonishing GDP support in various countries where money is being spent as if there was no tomorrow. And obviously, on the monetary policy side, we've also seen dramatic things. I have a feeling that Merkel, the German chancellor, wants to build her legacy here. This is going to be a last big thing. Her popularity has soared in recent months as she has had a kind of been level-headed and um, and and been guiding Germany through this, being shown as kind of a poster child. And as she's building her legacy, she may well be interested in doing something that actually um, the person that she was responsible for ousting in some ways, Helmut Kohl, did as well. Helmut Kohl said German unification is so important, doesn't matter what it costs. And inflation went up for several years. There were some compromises made that were ultimately not good, notably on the purchasing power that was not up to par in East Germany. Um, the Eastmark was converted 1-to-1 to the Deutschmark, and with that, East Germany was not competitive, greatly contributing to the challenges that East Germany has had over the years to try to get back on its feet, and much of the challenges in that context. And so I'm not suggesting this is the same thing here, but it's towards the end of Kohl's reign. He thought this was historic, this was important, and so now similarly Merkel thinks it's important and historic. And the context here is, of course, that the European Union is not the United States of Europe. And it may be morphing in that direction. The most recent, very historic thing was for the German parliament to give its nod of approval to what effectively is debt monetization. They would, the ECB doesn't call it that way, but to the massive programs. And then some people indeed would push back that it is debt monetization. But it is going far beyond what the designers of the euro had envisioned. Indeed, the designers of any central banks had envisioned when many of these things have happened that have been happening over the last decade, and that's been doubled down now this time around in the current crisis. And so the socialization, so to speak, of the debt is well on its way. And what has not yet happened is to have pure Eurozone bonds being issued or EU bonds being issued for the purposes that the point here is that the EU Parliament historically hasn't had much power. They have a lot of power to create red tape, but they do not have a lot of power to spend money. And so the question is whether the EU is moving into a new phase here. There are several so-called frugal countries that are pushing back. They do have obviously the domestic audiences, the tier two. All these decisions have to be unanimous, which is all but kind of impossible when you have 28 member countries. And but it's some people are making comparisons to Hamilton, who was trying to figure out how to do things. There was a lot of horse trading going on in the first Congress about where the seat of government would be, and whether after after the separation, the war, that whether the state should be bailed out. And so the Hamilton eventually got it his way by kind of moving moving the Washington D.C., or moving the capital to Washington. And at the time, obviously, it wasn't called Washington. And so and Pennsylvania wanted in one place, New York wanted another place, and so they needed to find a compromise that everybody could sell at home. and there was good old political horse trading. And so, question is to what extent does this happen now? Elected officials are held accountable via Twitter and whatnot. And it does make a difference when because it's not just providing a loan to Italy or to Spain or to Portugal or whatever it is. It is about putting the mechanism in place to do this going forward. Just as a reminder, all the stops were pulled from the financial crisis and then added on top of that. So I have very little doubt that whatever we are coming up with here is going to create and shape the EU. Now, all that said, earlier today the euro was strong, then it was weak. Now it's again a tad positive. We're at 114.30. That is still a multi-month high. I've been arguing that other currencies will do much better as the euro does fine in this sort of environment. Indeed, today the euro is amongst the weaker currencies. The sterling is actually the strongest. That had been weaker. That sterling is 126.35. The Swedish krona and Norwegian krona, those are kind of the higher beta European currencies, are outperforming. And to just as a reference point, the Swiss franc is the weakest in the G10, and just before that is the Japanese yen. So the safe havens are lagging, and the third weakest currency is the euro. And so that's more in the safe haven territory. And so if we are reflating the economy, other currencies may actually be outperforming. All of that is versus the dollar. And the yen and the Swiss franc are weaker versus the dollars, but all the other major currencies and the G10 are stronger versus the dollar. And so I've been arguing that maybe we have the secular bull market in the dollar may well be over. Anyway, let me just focus on that, and rather than giving you a whole rundown of a gazillion different topics, I figured let me focus here on just one item. Let me know whether you prefer this format or like it better or worse. In any case, have a great week and be safe out there. Take care.